Boing. Right, so basically on this video all I wanted to do was kind of another story time. Basically what happened to my very first bike, Honda CBR 125. Yeah, so basically what happened was with my very first bike I decided that I wanted to go into town, and I decided to go through the lanes of all places. And as I was going through the lanes, don't know why I decided, I thought I'd do a lifesaver. Going through the lanes. As I went like that and started turning my head, the woman in front of me decided to do an emergency stop as there was cars oncoming traffic coming towards us. Now what I'll see if I can get a video. Obviously it won't be the accident, but it'll show slightly of where I was when this was happening, because it was kind of curved in the lanes. But the woman emergency stopped in front of me, but obviously I was still doing about 40 miles per hour at this moment, still driving through. And as I was turning around from the lifesaver, I just glimpsed the car, but I had no chance whatsoever in stopping the bike. So obviously the bike hit the car, the front of it. Instead of the wheel being, say, that far from the engine, it was touching the engine. And the bike went up. I went straight into the back of her window. All I remember was lying on the floor. As I went to stand up, my arm was jammed. Somehow my glove was stuck in the front of my wheel. I don't know how on earth that happened. It was just the fingertip of the one glove was actually jammed in the wheel. So as I pulled my arm away, my hand was stuck. So as I yanked my hand out, the glove came off and it was stuck in the wheel. So I had to yank the glove out, and it actually tore the glove. And as you know, bike gloves are quite resilient material, and it tore the leather. So as I stood up, I kind of looked around, puzzled. I was still kind of in shock. A couple of people got out, trying to see if I was okay. All I remember seeing is my bike on the floor, so instantly I just kind of picked my bike up. A couple of people got out to see if I was okay. Some got out to see if the woman in front of me was okay. I was still in shock. I was mostly thinking, I'm going to pick up bits of my bike. So I was picking up fairings, parts of my bike. I was actually picking up the fairing. And I remember just shoving it in my jacket, and I was just picking up parts of my bike, and I was like, it can be fixed, it can be fixed. So I rang one of my mates up and I was like, I've had an accident, can you come down? So one of my mates drove straight down, and he drove up to the top of the lane, and he walked down, obviously because the lane was blocked off because of obviously the car, well, I wouldn't say car pileup, but the cars were all packed up because obviously I was blocking off the lane. He came down to see me, and this bike was still there. And I was like, it's not written off, it's not written off. I was in shock still. I was like, it can't be written off. I was like, I haven't even had here a year yet. It hasn't been a year. No way has this bike been written off. At least I hope it hasn't been written off. And they were like, oh, the people around me, they were saying, oh, it could be fixed, it could be fixed. And then the one person turned around, he went, oh, any damage to the car then? You can probably make a claim off him. And I looked at the car. Now, seeming I went into the back of the car after she eventually stopped. I went into the car window. The bike obviously went up. No damage whatsoever to the car. There was a little tiny black mark on the back of her bumper from the tyre. A little tiny black mark. Just a bit of the rubber where it rubbed off onto the car. No damage whatsoever. My bike, however, when I got it taken to the garage, managed to somehow drive her out, even though the wheel was rubbing against the engine and everything, was a write-off, a complete write-off. It was absolutely, it was phenomenal. I can believe it. Obviously, it was the first vehicle I had ever owned. Obviously, I was only driving it on a CBT, bloody compulsory bike test or bike license, whatever you want to call it. I was absolutely gobsmacked, to be honest. But I loved that bike. I'm going to see if I can get some photos. I'm going to put some photos on here as well of that bike. I even went and bought it, one of them double bubble screens for it as well, because I loved that bike. It was brilliant. I used to drive it around. We used to go everywhere with it. We went up the Brecon Beacons. Even when it was freezing cold out, the waterfalls are completely iced over. So a couple of mates stopped off by a chip shop. I walked across the road, climbed up some of the mountainish area, just to take photos by the iced off waterfalls. I went through all of that. I drove through snow. I went through loads of stuff, and then I ended up going into a back of a car. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it at all. And the fact of the matter is, I had that bike for 5 months as well without my parents knowing. This is what I found funny. The fact I had it 5 months without my parents knowing, because I actually hired a garage. I was renting a garage, so my parents didn't know. Because my dad was dead set on me never getting a bike. He turned around, he said I was dangerous on a push bike, which in all fairness I am dangerous on a push bike. I admit that. If you've watched some of my videos, you've seen some of the close calls I've had. You probably think I'm dangerous on a motorbike, which I probably agree with you. But I still want another motorbike. But 5 months I went without my parents knowing I had this bike. I would basically walk to this garage. I left all my levers, textiles there. I'd get ready, I'd go to work, I'd come back, I'd go home. Then one day, my parents went out for a party. As they were coming back, they got in a taxi. The taxi driver turned around and said, "Oh, you're so-and-so's parents. I haven't seen him for ages since he's had his motorbike." One taxi driver to tell my parents that I had a motorbike. 5 months. And the best part was, my father, as soon as he found out I had a motorbike, after several accounts of him telling me never to get a motorbike, first thing he wanted to do was to ride that motorbike. And now, he's got a 1000cc motorbike, which I really want to drive. But he's told me I'm not allowed to go until I get a full bike license. So that is surprisingly one of my goals at the moment. I'm putting money aside for that. Obviously, I don't think he knows, but that is one of the things I'm going for at the moment. Obviously, as soon as I get money aside for that, I'm just going to walk in one of these days and just say, "Dad, you know that bike you got? Here's my licence. Going for a test drive." And obviously I'll put my GoPro on just in case I write that one off. But that'll be another story for another time. Thank you for watching, and obviously if you like this, give it a like, thumbs up, and obviously subscribe.